Right now, is my audio clear? Audio, video, everything. It's all clear, right? Just respond in the chat. Audio clear? Video, everything. It's all clear. Audio saying yes, yes. Okay, great, great. Okay, so let's begin this session. So in this bootcamp, we will be building one live IPL Score application. Okay. We will be building that by using a React JavaScript, and that with Tailwind also will be using, and we'll be fetching those score by using an API. Okay, so we will get into the description of all this. I will go on. I will start with explaining you what all things we will be implementing. First of all, what things we will be doing, where we will be doing, and how we will be doing. Okay, everything will be explained. No problem with that. Okay, so just respond in the chat if you all ready to go with this bootcamp. If you all are excited for this. Great, great, great. Okay. So first, let me get into what all things we will be getting in this bootcamp. Okay. So first of all, we will be starting with first thing, that is getting to understand what is a React.js. Okay, just yeah, my code is visible now. Yeah. So we will be start with getting to know what exactly is React.js. So this session will clearly be about React.js. What is React.js, and then what is JSX? Why we call it as JSX? What are things we have in JSX? And then we will get to know about the different things in React.js, such as what is prop. Okay. Before prop, we will get to know what are functional components. Okay, so one question remains same. Why do we use React so much? Okay. So for understanding that, we have to understand what is functional component. After we are done with functional component, we will move to props. Okay. Or else before that, we can move to writing a code sample of in JSX. How we write a code in JSX, we can do that. Then we can move to our props. And then likewise, we have many different topics that we will be covering today. Okay, don't worry. I will also tell you how to install React. Okay, in your local system. No problem with that. How to create an application in React. I will show you a terminal example of that. Okay. So installing React, then CD, then installing your dependencies in React and everything. So we will do that too. Text not visible. Let me increase the weight for the text. Okay. So let's begin with understanding reactions. Okay. So before what we had was we had normal JavaScript. Okay. So before we had normal JavaScript, might be my handwriting would not be that great, but if you do not understand any word or anything, just feel free to tell me. I will explain you again. So in normal JS, what we can write is just the script. Okay. If you want to embed an HTML, it was quite difficult in that. So embedding HTML and other things was quite difficult in that. So now to make our job easier, developers were spending a lot of time in doing so, in writing HTML different file and writing JavaScript in different files. So now what we got is we got combination of both. So we got HTML plus of JavaScript into a single file that is popularly known as JSX, or else we can also use .js also in case of React. Okay, JSX and .jss, .jsx and .js both will work. Okay, yeah. Okay, so now what I told is we can have both HTML and JavaScript in a single file. So for that also we have rules and regulations. So first let's get into JSX. So I will show you a code sample of how to write a JSX. But yeah, so writing a JSX, mostly, yeah, one more thing is before starting it, We will be implementing this all project, a complete project in code sandbox so that we can share the code with you. You can also do in the local system, but it will be quite difficult to share codes with you. So if you want to do in code sandbox, or else if you want to do it in local system in VS Code or whatever, it's your will. Okay, it's not an issue. But only thing that I require from you is your intent to do this project with me. Okay, along with me, you have to go on with the flow. If you do not understand anything, and while I am explaining, you can clearly come in the chat and tell me that yeah, you're not understanding that. So we can clearly get back to that topic. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into JSX. What exactly is JSX? So as I explained earlier, JSX is the combination of your HTML and JavaScript. JSX files is the combination of your HTML plus of JavaScript. So in this JSX files, you can clearly write both of the HTML and JavaScript collectively. You do not have to create another script tag and you do not have to write all JS in that different script tag. Okay. So if I take one example of JSX, so let me show you an example. Yeah. So we will be typing this. No worries. I am explaining you the theoretical part right now. So that's why I'm showing you directly. We will be absolutely typing this with no problem. Okay. So see, this is one element, one JavaScript element, const element. What is const? What is let? We will also refer that. No need to worry about that. If you do not understand it now, just after this, after I explain the component, I will also explain this all things. So const element h1 hello comma name. Now the thing to focus upon here is we have two different components. Okay, two different components. What are two different components? We have h1 tag. You can see we have h1 tag. So this h1 tag is clearly our HTML. It's clearly our HTML. And then const element and the name. So over here we would also have defined const name as something. It might be a string value. We would have defined const name as something, and we are printing that name from that variable over here. So we have JavaScript. This is your JavaScript and your HTML. So when we combine them both, what we get is JSX. That's what JSX is clearly about. So it is the lowest level of JSX that we can have. Okay. So when we write a whole lot of code in this bootcamp for the IPL project, we will be seeing JavaScript, HTML, all everything in the same folder, along with different dependencies like XEOs for and then API also we will be using. I'll explain you what all API we'll be using just in the session itself. Okay. Now, I explained you what JSX is. Now, you would have got a doubt like what is cost and what are different things is. We'll just get a little into that also. So, we have three types of data types in JavaScript. One is const, another one is let, and third one is var. Okay. So as per the name given const, okay. So the const will be a constant value. So if you define a variable with const data type, its value would not be able to change in any future reference. So suppose I define uh, const a as 10. And then later in the program, later in the code, I am trying to do is b is equals to 20. So absolutely, you cannot do this. Why? Because we are defining it with a const. Okay. Now, to remove this problem, we have our let or var. Okay, let or var. So in case of let, suppose we are defining a is equals to 10. And in case of var also, we are defining b is equals to 10. And then again in future, we define A as 20, no problem with that. We can get it. We define B as 20, no problem with that. We can clearly get it. We can update this. There's no issue because it is not a cost. It is let and where. Only difference between let and where is one is a scope variable and one is not a scope variable. So what scope is? So suppose we have one bracket over here. This is one scope. So if you define let in a scope, it will only be available in that scope, but where will be available in all scopes. Okay, so this was just the basic of data types. Now let's get to components. What exactly is component? Okay, so let me show you an example. If I can get a site example. Yeah, let's get out to the code sandbox example itself. Okay, so yeah, so you can see, I think so you can see my window. Yeah. So in this, what we have is we have different four different components. Okay. So what are four different components is we have one sidebar over here. So this shows your folders and files all available in it. You have one code section over here. Okay. So this is your code section that we have. And then we have our output section over here. Okay. So now we have three different sections in a single page. We can say it. If you consider, we also have a header over here and sometimes we also have footers over here. So let's assume we have three parts in this window. One is our sidebar, one is main coding window, one is an output window. Okay, let's get to here. So what are three parts we have? One is our sidebar, and one is our coding window. Okay, and the third one is our output window. So if I ask you, it's my question to you. If we want to make a web page, similar web page has code sandbox by using just HTML and CSS. What do you think this web page would be like? Like, will we do that all things in a single file, or else we will be doing that in multiple files? If you could answer me, if we will do this all code of all three components, sidebar, coding, and output in single file, or else we will be doing in multiple files. Okay. Yeah, just respond in the chat. Single file or else multiple file. Single file. Yeah, great. No, friends, we will not be doing that in multiple file because it is plain HTML and CSS. I'm not talking about React. Okay. If I talk about React, in that case, you will be doing it in multiple files and multiple components. Okay. So in case of HTML, you will be doing that in case of single file. No, multiple files would be required. Okay, like we can't do it in multiple sites. So now here comes the advantage of your React.js. Okay, here comes the advantage of your React.js. So what React will do, it will break this all three parts into different components. Okay, we will have all three of this part into different components, and we will create all this and component like we will have one sidebar component, we will have one coding component, we will have one output component. Just after this, I will show you one example of a code sandbox. We will create three components. We'll add some random text in that. I will show you how we create all three components. Okay. So once we create all three components, we combine them all into single file in app.js or some files, and we view it as a single web page. So what's better now is your code readability. Your code readability gets better. Okay, your code readability gets better as well as your management of code gets better. Okay, so it's like if we combine all three components in a single file, so we would be having around 2000 and 3000 lines of code. In case of simple HTML, and but if we take React.js in that cases, we will divide it into three different components. In that case, the coding will be easier. Obviously, debugging part will also be easier. Okay, so let's write what are advantages we have. So we have easier coding. Absolutely, our job will be much more easier. We have debugging. Okay, debugging which will also be easier. And once debugging coding is easier, we will have like this two part is most important. Others, we have other advantage too, but these are the main two advantages. Okay, so we divide this code into three different components. So let's say in a code sandbox, how we can do that is, so see, this is how to set up this and all. We'll be explaining. No need to worry about this. Once we start the main project, we will get down into this too. So in source directory, I will be making a file known as text.jsx. Okay. We have one file text.jsx. In that, yeah. Yeah. So let's begin with component function test. Right. Now, one more thing to take care of is whenever you are in a JSX file. So whenever you want to have an HTML, okay, whenever you want to have an HTML, every time we add that HTML under a return tag. So we have return small bracket, then we can go on. Now, one more thing that we have is this can also be used in case of HTML. So the thing is, inside a return tag, we can just have one single tag. Okay, one single tag. So it's like, yeah. So suppose we have defined a return tag, return. We have defined a return in JSX. We have written. So suppose we are writing h1 tag over here. Okay, h1 tag. And then again, we are writing one more h1 tag over here. So in this case, what will happen is we will have a issue. Issue will be we will get an error. So to avoid this error, what we do is either we have two solutions to this. Either we can use a div tag that will contain all the code inside it. Okay, we can use this, or else what we can do is we can have this tag. So once you have this tag, you can write whatever code inside it, not outside or other than this. You can write inside it. So how many tags you want to define inside it, you can, no problem with that. But remember, multiple tags defining inside a return is not a good thing. You will get a clear sort of error. So we are done with that, and we are missing one part, that is our small bracket. We are done with the small bracket, and yeah, ready to go. Now, let's define our H1. Okay. Hello. We are making our component. See, as for like I'm telling you basics, if I am starting some code, so I suppose that you are also coding with me because it will give you a more clear understanding. Okay. So we are not adding any CSS right now. We are just lorem ipsum, just random things. Okay. So this is one component we made, test.jsx. Let's make another component that is test1.jsx. Okay. Yeah. So one more thing that we are missing out is every time you create a React component, do not forget to write export default function. Okay, so either you can write export default function over here, or else at the end you can do export default test. Okay, so both of things are valid. So do either of one, not both, either of one. So at the end, either you can export the component, or else you can do it at the starting itself when you are defining the function. Yeah. Right. So let's get to text to default function test one. We are ready with the function. Let's return it up. Okay, we are ready. And again, h1 tag. We will use h1 tag. Here we will be writing this is test one of the window. And then we will be having a paragraph tag. And again, we'll write some random thing. This is para. Okay. Now we have two components. Let's test it out. Let's see how this is looking. So we already have a code in our app.jsx. We will remove that up. Or else, yeah, we'll remove that. I do not want to create confusion for you. So first of all, before importing it into app.jsx, we will do import. So import this from. So we have test over here and we are done. Then we will be importing our second test, test one from then test one. Okay. Now, as I told you, in the return, we will be having just one tag having all the codes inside. So in before, like in test one and test, we use this tag. Right now in app.js, what we are using is div. So this both will work fine. No issue with that. Now, let's import this up, test and close it. Then again, test and then close it. You know, messed this up. Yeah, okay. Now you can see what we did is we created two different components. One was test. So in test we had hello, we are making our component first thing and lorem ipsum. And in test two we had 1 minute. Yeah, so yeah, we'll discuss this also why this is happening. So in test one, what we had is this is test one of the component and this is paragraph. So now let's see output. So the output, what's the problem in the output? We are having the same component getting returned twice. Okay, why this is happening? Because we imported test. Okay, and while writing over here, we just wrote test and test two times. So that's why it's happening. If we write test one over here, and then our output will change. Okay. So we wrote test in test one, we wrote hello, we are making our components and the lorem ipsum. In test one, this is test one of the component and this is paragraph. Okay. Are you getting this? Like, did you got a small intro of what components is? Okay. Yeah. Great. I know, like many of you would be knowing what all components are, but we are starting from basic, so let's not ignore some of the basic parts. Or like in the first lecture, we will just cover somewhat of the basic part, and then in the next, from next class, we will start building our application. So that you do not miss out some basic concept. Okay. So if you know about these all concepts, it's great. No problem with that. Just go on. Okay. Any doubts in this part? No. Great. Okay. So next thing that we'll be starting with is props. Okay. Okay. So next thing is our props. So what props is used for? So props is used for passing values between your functions. Passing values between function. Okay. So suppose that you have two functions, two different functions in two different files. Okay. So now what happens is you want to pass a value, you want to pass a particular value from one function or else from one part to another part. Okay. One part to another part. Suppose it is part two. So this both are in different files. Suppose this is file 1.jsx and this is file 2.jsx. So what we are doing is we are sending one variable value from file 1.jsx to file 2.jsx. So to do so, what we use is props. Okay. For this, we are using props. So let's see one code example how we can implement this. Let's get back to the code sandbox. So in text, what we'll be doing is we'll be defining one prop as name. Hello, we are making our component and then we can use name over here. Wait, yeah. So what we did is directly while we were defining the function, while we were writing export default function test, we directly add one variable name over here inside a curly braces. So the syntax is very important. if you directly write name, just a minute. Yeah, if you directly write name, so in that case, it will not work well. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So what I was doing is, if you directly write name, so it might be work or not. Like sometimes we might get an issue, but it also works without a curly braces. No issue with that. We'll also see that in our project thing. So right now, let's work with work with inside the curly braces. Now, while we call this, so over here we will be writing name is equals to. Let's suppose I'm writing name as Pranav. Okay, writing name as Pranav. Let's save it up. Let it load again. That is, yeah, text. And do we have some issue? Just wait a minute. It's opening up. Just give me a moment. I think so. The server is slow. Yeah. So what exactly will happen is, in the output you will be getting hello. We are making our component, and with some space you will be getting the name that we passed from this component. So what we did is we created one variable name as name, and then we passed that name from app.jsx to test.jsx. Okay, so these are both different files or else different components. So we are passing it up from one component to another component. Okay, so that is what the use of props is. Okay, is everything fine? Like, is the screen zoomed in or something? Okay, yeah, it's still working. Like it's still running. So let's get to the next topic. Once it's back, output is back. We will see. Yes, soon it's yeah. Are you able to see it now? Clear? Like I have increased the font and all. Closed on this terminal. Yeah. Is it fine? Okay. Okay then. So props is done. Then we will be seeing next thing that is our user state. Okay. So now user state and use effect, like we have two important things. So first of all, main important thing is use effect. Okay. So let's get into understanding what use effect is. So now suppose that you have a one component. Okay. You have one window. So in that window, you are having one button. Okay. You have one button. So when you click that button, what happens is the background color, we will write it as PG. Background color changes from white to the background color changes from white to blue. White to blue. Now, this is what we call it as change of state. Change of state. So change of state is kind of change in some property of your application. Okay. So suppose you would have used many applications where you have dark mode and light mode combined. Okay. So there are many applications or web pages where if you want to switch from light mode to dark mode, you can clearly do that. So you just have one toggle button or else one thing. Once you click that, your all of the sites theme get changed to dark mode or else white mode. So that is also a function of state. So a state is clearly a property. Okay. So a change of property is called as change of state. It might be change of background. It might be change of text. It might be change of your routes. Like we have many things inside a state. So we'll get to know about this once we are coding in our project. Okay. So what is state and how we change the state, we will get to know about that. Okay. Right now, just understand what a state is. A state is the change of one property. So Suppose that what's happening is you have a site. In that site, you have a text being displayed. So that text says hello. Okay. So that text says hello, and you have one button downwards. So that button says proceed. So when user comes on your site, suppose this is a web page. When user comes on your site, so in that case you will be showing hello to him or her. Okay. So after he or she clicks on the proceed button, this text should be changed. Obviously, this should be changed. It would either proceed to sign up button or else sign up page or another thing. So to render that or else to show that we use our use state in that case also. Again, I'm telling change of a property or other things inside a web page is what we call it as change of state. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Vivek, prop is clearly passing off your value from one component to other. Okay, whenever you want to pass a value from one component to another, in that case, we use a props. Okay, I showed you how to define a prop. Okay, let me show it's not clear. Again, sorry. Yeah, so as I showed you the example in text.js, what we did is we created a variable here inside the curly braces name. If we want to return a multiple props too, we can do that too. I will show you just an example for that. We can write name and text. And over here too, we can have name, we can have text that will remove this text. Hello. Okay, we can also do this. What we need to do, one more thing is import React. Yeah, yeah, we'll see that later, like importing different things. We'll see that later. Let's get to the basic thing right now. Okay. Yeah. So what state is? State is change in some properties is what we have state. Yeah. Let's get to see the state thing. Okay. Now, I will show you a code. Okay. The basic right now implementation also we will see. Where I will show you a small code example. So let's make one file. So file will be state.jsx. Yeah. Export default function. We can write it as state. Okay. Now, before using the state, what we have to do is we have to import one thing that is use state from React. Without that, our code will not be running. So import in bracket, we'll be writing use state from React. Okay. So if you are not importing use state from React, in that case, the use state will not be working. Okay. Yeah. So let's get what we'll do is we'll create an increment counter example. Okay. So in that, let's define counter and set counter. Now we have const counter, comma, set counter is equals to use state. Okay, we are defining the counter right now as default as 0. Okay, right now it's 0. It does not has any value. So next will be our HTML component. In that we will be adding one button. So what that button will do is whenever we click that button, our counter will go on increasing. So let's write return. And this one, just let's use a div. It will be much better. Yep. So paragraph tag, count, and in braces, counter. Yep. And then we will be having a button. Now, the function of this button will just be to increase the count. Okay. So we'll write increment, increment, and then button on click. Now, on click is a property. Okay, so whenever we click that button, in that case, yeah, in that case, we will be using. Okay, so on click, we have to increase the count every time whenever we click this button by one. So we're using our arrow tag. Yeah, then we will not be now using count. Counter will be using set counter because what happens is you have defined counter. Counter is a variable that stores the value, and the set counter will be used for updating these values. Okay, so you will not be using counter as in that case you have to use set counter. Inside that we'll be using count. So let me show you that. We will be using set counter, then small braces, and then it will be count plus one. Okay, we have written the code. What's happening is, first of all, we are importing the user state from the React. After that, what we are doing is we are defining counter and set counter. So by default, its value is set to be zero. Okay. Once we are done with that, what we are doing is we are showing it up, and on click, whenever we click that button, we will be updating it up by one. Every time you click, it will get updated by one. So let's remove this test thing and we'll see the import counter from. Yeah, we have used the state as a name. Okay, so counter. Then we are using it. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, we can see output. Right now we are having our count as zero. Okay. Clearly, we are having our count as zero. Why? Because we have set it as zero. Suppose if we set it at 20, if we set it at 20, then by default we will have 20 over here. So no need to start with 20. We will start with zero. And on click, whenever we click on this button, we will increment it one by one. See, I clicked it up. It's not getting updated. Let me see what's the issue. Still, it's not getting updated. So, what's the problem? Can anyone tell me what is the error? What is the problem that I made in this code? If anyone can tell me, it will be great help for me. Like I know what's the error, but I want you to debug and tell me what's the error I made. So the for easing your task, I will tell you the error is in button tag. If anyone could tell me in the chat what is the error. Yeah, guys, fast. Tell me. So count is not initialized. No, count is initialized. On click is good. No problem. Anyone else? What's the error? Set count. Great. What we did is we wrote count instead of counter. What we defined was counter, but not count. If suppose I would have defined count over here, in that case it would be working, but we defined counter. So here also we have to write counter, not count. Okay. So let's get done with it. Refresh our site. Now, as we are clicking the increment, it goes on increasing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and whatever times you want. Okay. So suppose that like out of curiosity, you also want to add one more thing, that is same button, one more button. Now what it will do is it will set your counter to zero. So again on click, okay, we are doing that same. Okay, set counter and then bracket, it will be zero. What we are doing is we are setting up our counter. In first case, we are incrementing it by one, and in the second case, we are setting it as zero. So if I click on this, it will automatically set your counter as zero. Okay, it will automatically set your counter as zero. So same increment will work like that, and once we set zero, it will get back to zero. Okay. So this was use state thing. Okay. So this comes under hooks. So same like changing states, changing effect and all. So if you have any doubt on this use effect thing, just get in the chat, right? If you have anything that you did not understand in this part, if everything is clear, then we can move to next thing is counter plus plus. Yeah, you can write counter plus plus. No issue with that. Let me show you that too. If you have it counter plus plus also, it's working the same. Just a minute. Counter plus plus. Okay, I don't think so. It will work for that well. Uh, or else we can do is counter plus is equals to one. Let's see if this will work. No, this will also not work. So like clearly we have to do counter plus one only. Counter plus plus is not working. See, if you get any doubts, if you get anything out of curiosity, just check it. Okay. Do not wait for anything. Do not wait for any validation. Just go on, just add it in the code and check it. Okay. Like why counter plus is not working and different things. Just add it to the code and check it. Yeah. So next thing that we have is yeah. So we explained what is component, what is prop, and then what is our use effect, use state. Okay. So next thing that we can go on with is conditional renting, like if else statement also. So yeah, let me show that example also. So if you would have studied JavaScript, okay, normal plain JavaScript, in that what we have is if else statements, if else conditional statements, okay? If else conditional statements. So in that, if a condition is true, in that case, we will execute that code. Okay. So same way, in case of JSX, what we can have conditional rending, conditional rending. So what does this conditional rending does is, if the condition is true, in that case only it will show you the HTML code, or else it will show you the HTML code on the web page. If the condition is not true, if the condition is false, in that case, that code is not going to be shown. Okay. So what we have is conditional ending. Conditional ending is if the statement is true, in that case, we will be having our our HTML to be shown, but in case it's false, we will not be showing it on the screen. Okay, so if we get into the example, I will directly show you the code. We will not type that in because it's an easy part. So in the state itself, let's see that code. Yeah. So this is the code. Before that, we have to define one more thing is const is login is equals to true. Okay, so we are defining this up now. This will be the code. Now we are getting some errors over here. Let's see what's the error. Obviously, we will not be showing it like that. As per document resources. Yep, it's fine now. Okay. So what was the error that we had was we are not adding this inside a diff. Okay. So what happens is logged in. So we defined that is logged in. So if the is logged in thing is true. So here we are using a ternary operator. Okay. Yeah. So here we are doing a ternary operator. So if the condition is true, like if the condition in the code is true, that is logged in. So if it is true, in that case, we will be showing welcome. Or else if it is false, in that case, we will be showing please log in. So this is your conditional rending. You can also use the if else thing if you want. So we are using ternary. in this case. Okay. So suppose what we do is we do this as false. What we do is we set it as false. In that case, what will happen is we are having our second text being displayed, that is please log in. Okay. In that case, we are having second thing as being displayed as please log in. Okay. Everyone got this conditional ending? Any issue? Spelling mistake. It was spelling mistake. I corrected it. No problem. Counter in place of count. It's done. I thought you were too late to answer this. Plus plus counter. Someone is telling me to try plus plus counter. Let me show you if plus plus counter will work or not. Yeah, everyone is done with this code, right? I can remove this code, right? Or else we will add one more file that, and we will see if the plus plus counter is working or not. So counter or JSX. See, once we are done with this, I will tell you why this all things are not working. Plus plus counter or counter plus plus. Let me directly add in the code. Just the code. Yeah. Okay. This is the code. So someone is telling me to try plus plus counter. Let's try plus plus counter. And in app.jsx, we'll be importing this. Import. We have imported counter. So we'll just update it. Counter. Okay. I think so. There is some error counter in counter.jsx. It's fine. User state, comments, return. Everything is fine. Set comment, increment. Let's do with the counter. Set counter, user state, set counter, and the plus plus. It will be counter app.jsx. We're still working with the states, state editor. Yeah, what's the issue here? Okay, counter. Yeah. Yeah, so the error that we were making was we were not exporting the function. That's why we were having this error. So blank screen was due to this problem. Okay. So once we are done with the export default function counter, we are done with this return p counter plus plus increment, and we are importing this counter. We'll show it that. Okay. Yeah, we are good with this. Yeah, so it's not just me. After coding for such long time also, I sometimes forget this export default. So it might happen to you, okay? So it's not a like very common mistake, but it happens. So export default function, if you're not writing that before defining the function, or else if you're not writing at the end, in that case, you will have a blank string. Now see, we did increment plus plus counter, okay? Now, in case of other languages like Java and all, if you define, in case of Java, if we take an example, in that case, if you define int count in counter and then we do plus plus counter or counter plus plus, in that case, it will get updated. But in JS, what happens is we are not working with normal, we are not working with normal variables. We are working with use state. Okay. So in case of use state, the plus plus counter thing and counter plus plus thing is not going to work. Okay. Are you getting me that the plus plus counter and counter plus plus is not going to work? This thing just temporarily updates the value of counter, but it is not getting saved to the user state. So that is why this will not work, neither plus plus counter nor counter plus plus. So we just have to use counter plus one. Okay, only this thing will be working in case of use state. We are not talking about normal variables, we are talking about use state thing. Okay. Yeah, you can use no problem with the RFC. We are starting in the beginning. I know that we can use RFC. We are starting with the beginning. So that's why I want to explain you each and every concept, each and every part of the code. Okay. So you do not get confused. I know many of you know what to use, what not to use. Great. But I do not want to confuse anyone who's starting from basics. Okay. Yeah. So we did the use state thing and we did the conditional rendering. Okay. So the next thing that we'll be using is map function or else loop. Okay. So you would know what loop is. What exactly is loop? Okay. So loop is just circulation, or else you go on moving inside code block until or unless the condition is true. So famously, like we have for loop in JavaScript also we have while loop and then do while. Okay, so we have this all three loops, but this will work fine in normal JS. It works great. Other than that, what we have is we have map. We have one thing that is known as map and for each. Both are same. Both have same functionality. They differ somewhat, but most probably we will be using map and for each. We will not be using for while and do while we are writing JSX codes. Okay, so just map and for each will be used. So let's get into what is map. So we will be writing one code for map and we'll see how things are getting rendered in that case. So just let's make a map.jsx. Okay. So if you want, you can do RCS, no problem. In some cases, in board sandbox, it might work or not. RCS. Yeah, I don't think so. It's working in board sandbox. So let's go with the normal export if called function map. Okay. So we are done with the function and now we have to create one array. So you would be knowing what array is. Okay. So we will take one sample array. I will directly take it up. So let's make a const arr. So this will be your list of elements. So list of elements like fruits, apple, banana, and grapes. Okay. We took a list, like we took an array. Now what we have to do is we have to show this all three elements of the array by using map. Okay. So one way is by defining list item for each element, list item for apple, list item banana, list item cherry. So this is good, but if you have a large list of items that you want to show, so in that case, what you have to do is you have to use map. Okay. So let's begin our HTML code. Return. You can have this. Let's use div itself. Div is here. And then we'll define unordered list. Inside the unordered list, we'll be defining our map. Okay. List. Now arr dot map. Arr dot map. Then inside map, we will be having two things. Yeah. One will be the variable that will go on at each element. So suppose we are defining item. We are defining an item variable. Now, what will happen is item variable will start with apple first, then it will move to banana, and then it will move to grapes. Along with item, what we have is we have one more thing that is known as your index. So index is your unique number or else the index of the element inside that array. Okay. So once we are done with this, yeah. So this arrow, we will be having this arrow and then the small braces. We will have the small braces and then we will have our list items. So every time, like before when we were using maps, we would not be required with key. Like it's required, but it was not that mandatory. But now we have key. So every time, every element in a map will have a key, and that key will be set to index. Okay. So key will be set to index, and then you can write item inside a curly braces. Okay, so what we did is we created an array of fruits. Inside that array of fruits, what we did is we created an ordered list. And then for an ordered list, by using our map, what we are doing is we are showing each of the fruits one by one. Okay, let's show it on the screen and it's import our map from so map. Okay, yeah. So in the output window, you can clearly see what's happening is we are having our order list of apple, banana, and grapes. So the map is mostly used for fetching all the elements inside an array or as object. Okay, by one by one. So if you have a large number of values, more number of values, in that case, map will be very helpful for you. So in practical applications, what we will be doing is we will be having a large list of JSON files, large objects, and by using map, we will be showing all the items inside the list. Okay. So it has a very great application map and for each both has a very great application. So let me give you one application example. Okay, you might need one. So what happens is, suppose you would have visited some sites where we have many number of cards. Okay, suppose we have six number of cards, and the six number of cards have same information. Like this has image, then title description, image, title description, and same with all this detail. So suppose if you are writing code for each cards, so you have to write six code blocks, and it will be taking a lot of time for you and lot of space. So now what we can do is we can add the detail of all this in a JSON object or a JavaScript object. Okay. So after adding this in JSON object, you can use map function. How to do this? We will clearly see it in the project because we have that application of printing cards. And by using map, you have to just write one block of code, around six, seven, 8 lines of code, and then you can show all of this six card at once. So instead of writing six different blocks of cardboards, you have to just write one block of code. Okay. So by doing so, you can like save your time, you can save your effort. That's fine. Both map and for each will be used for this. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, like we are returning the HTML code itself. We can clearly use this for returning HTML. Okay. Any doubts to this point? Great. Everything clear? Okay. So this was all basic things that we got to know in JavaScript. More we will be getting to know while we code in the project. So next thing that I want to show you is how to create a React application if you want to do so in your own system. Okay. So we will do that in our normal terminal window. Okay. Just give me a second. I will show you how to do that in terminal. So I'm just doing so that you will create a application in your own window and you can practice it. Okay. So I'm starting with a command prompt. I have opened my CMD. Just a minute. I will share my screen of the CMD. Okay. So we are sharing. Also, you can see my CMD screen, right? Everyone. Great. What we will be doing is we'll be writing our npm command. So the thing is, before starting this, I want you to verify if your npm is installed. Okay. So you should verify that if your npm and React other things are installed. After verifying this, only you have to start with this. So let's begin with writing the command for creating our application. So it will be npm. Just a minute. I will directly copy it and show you all different components. Okay. Now, yeah. So what we have is npm create vit at. So we are also using with vite. Okay. So normally you can also create a React without vit, but we use it for easiness. Okay. So npm node package module. So before starting this, you should have your React just installed. You should have your npm installed. Okay. So just check it out if it is installed or not. If what you can do is you can directly write npm dash dash version. Okay. So if you get the version and number, in that case, it is installed. If you're not getting it, so it means it is not installed and you have to install it. So I will show you how to check it up just after this. Okay. So what we can do is, yeah, you can do it on VS Code or else in terminal, whatever place you want. Okay, because VS Code has inbuilt terminals, so it's not an issue. Yeah. So npm create VAT at the rate latest. Now this is a normal command. After this comes your name of the application. Name of the application. So before we had just npm create name of the application and a React app. So before this, but it was depreciated, so we have to use it now. Like npm create vite at the rate latest IPL Score App and dash dash whatever it is template and React. Okay, and remember one thing: you should not have a capital letters in this name of your applications, or else it will throw an error. Suppose if I show example Rifles course, it should throw an error possibly package. I was so yeah. So what's happening is I have used a capital I, so that's why what happening is we are getting an error of using small I. Okay. So now we will get back to small I. We will enter and we will yeah. So it's done. It's installed. Now next step is doing CD. CD is your change directory. We are changing your directory to IPL Score App. Okay, we have got into IPL Score App just to cd space the name of your application or the folder or directory. Okay, yeah. Now, after doing that, we will be doing npm install. So you can either write npm space I or else npm install directly. So we are going with npm I. Let's do that, and it will install all the dependencies. Okay, it will take some time because it is installing all your dependencies. No, the installation process is not going to take 2 days. Obviously, it will get installed in 10 to like max to max. If you have very bad internet, it will take two, 3 minutes. Or else it will just take 1 minute. Okay, it's not going to take you 2 days for installing this. Yeah. So what we did is npm I Okay. So after we are done with the npm I, we will be running our application npm run dev. Okay. npm run dev. Now our application is running at localhost 5173. Let me show you. Let me stop presenting my terminal. I will show you that localhost. Just give me a moment. Okay. So we have localhost. Normally we have 3000, but here in VITE we use 5173. Yeah. So this is your normal page that you can see after installation. It will be like this. Okay. So again, it has the state thing that I told you, the counter thing. Okay. So once you're done with that, we will see like you can change the ports and all other installations. We will see also. The next thing that we have to install is our Tailwind CSS. But before that, I also have to tell you one thing. Yeah. The thing is to check if you have npm installed or not. Okay. So we will get back to our terminal again and we'll see if npm and React is installed or not. Like most importantly, we have npm to be seen. Okay. Yeah, I'm back at the terminal. So what I did is npm dash dash version. npm dash dash version. What else you can do? npm dash dash v also. It will also tell you the version of the npm installed. So if you are getting a version, any version 10.2.4, 11 point something, whatever latest or old version you have, if you have older versions, just get it updated. If you have a newer version, no issue with that. Okay. Yeah. So you can use npm dash dash v for checking if you have npm installed or okay. Let's check with if we have the React installed or not. React is not recognized, so we might be making a mistake. What is the mistake that we are making? React dash it version, it will also be not recognized. Can anyone tell me what's the mistake I'm making while checking the version of the React? Anyone from your side? Uh, can you show the map code once? Just a minute. I will show you once we are back to the screen. I will show that. React is pre-installed. Yeah, I know React is pre-installed. Okay, so with that, like, what would be the command to check it if React is installed or not? Okay, so what you can use npm list React. So what I'm using it inside the IPL Score app. So obviously I am making a React application, so I know that it is installed. It is a common sense to know if I have made a React application, then it will obviously be installed. Okay, so it's not a thing to be checked. But if you want, then obviously if you want to see the version of the React, then you can check it out by using npm list React. Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, I know React.js dot version is obviously a joke. I know it will not be working, but just for your clarity that you do not do it, I am telling you what are mistakes not to make. Okay. So npm list React C. While in this bootcamp, I will be doing such commands, I will be writing such commands and codes that will obviously be senseless, only to tell you not to do that. Okay, so if I write that, there would be only two purpose. Either I'm making a great mistake or else I'm trying to test it. Okay. So if you get to see those mistakes, just write in the comment sections or in the live chat that, yeah, this is a mistake I'm making. I will correct it out. Okay. Yeah. So NPM list React will work fine. Now, any someone wanted to see the code. the map. Let me share it up with you. Yeah. So let's get to the workspace back. And yeah, I think so you can see the code for the map. Once we write multiple HTML components, we will see what all things we have to change in this. Okay. Worry. We are not yet done with this all things. I just wanted to take first session as a basic session so that you can get a revision of what React is, what a different component is. Tomorrow we will be starting with our installation of Tailwind CSS. We'll directly start from that part. And then we will start with coding. Okay, so we'll first begin with the front end part, and that will be writing the home screen code and other codes. I will tell you what all components we have, and slowly we'll moving forward. We'll create the footer, we'll create the header, then we'll having our geo section created and how to fetch those live scores, what API to use, what uh, JS to write, and anything, everything we will be starting from tomorrow. Slowly, not fast. We will be going with a good pace, not too fast, not too slow. It was the first session, that's why we went slow and too basic, not from tomorrow. So I just wanted to give you explanation of the basics so that you can get to it. Okay, you can get in the base, and tomorrow we can directly start with the application. Okay, yeah. See, if you are having a doubt about NPX Create React App, My App, obviously you can use NPX, NPM, whatever you want. Okay, so no problem with that. And I think if you want to try if this will work or not, just try it in the terminal. Okay, if you want, I can show you if it will work or not. You want to see that? No problem. I will show you if it will work or not. Just let me share your terminal. Okay, my terminal is on the screen. Let me get one directory back. And you want to test if npx create app will work or not. Create React app my app. Okay. Yes. I think so. You can see my screen. Yeah. You can see it's working, right? Great. It's working. Let's write yes to proceed. It's working. So as I told you, if you are getting a curious doubt, if you're getting a curious doubt out of your curiosity that will this command work or will this command not work, just directly be open to try it out in terminal. Okay. Because if you're not curious, if you're not trying out things, then obviously will not be learned. Okay. So someone came with a doubt that if NPX will work or not. It is working. Now you have two ways to create a React application. There are multiple ways. You know two ways now. Now you can do whatever you want, whichever you feel easy. So NPX one will be more easier. So no problem with that. Now, only thing I want to highlight is you can clearly see a warning over here saying that create React app is depreciated. Okay, you are not getting the same warning in this command. Okay, it was just no warning over here. So it will work, no issue, it will work. But in future, you might get some issues, no problem with that. For now, it will work. So it's better to use the latest command. NPX will, is working, great, no problem. But let's switch, let's be at the last command that we used at the first place. Okay, it is taking too much time. Let's close this up. I just wanted to show you if it is work, if it will work or not. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts till this point? Any issue that you are having? Anything? Anyone? Okay. The code will be shared with you. Even notes can also be shared with you. It's an issue. We will share it up. Mm, the link and access it up. Okay, copy the link. Wait. Yeah. So we will be sharing this up. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, whatever code you want to use, and if you want to use like VS Code or the code sandbox, whatever you want to use, you can because it's not a constraint. Yeah, as I told you, can use whatever you want. It's your free will wherever you feel confident. Mm. You will get the notes soon. You will get to know where we are coding these all things. Okay, great. I think so you have your attendance form over here. Just fill it up. Okay. Yeah, you will get to know where we are uploading the notes and all different things. Don't worry about that. You will get informed. Yeah, the command to install Tailwind we will see in the next class. It will be similar. If there will be any change, I will just notify you while we will be implementing that. Okay. Yeah, you can do the attendance in the form. I think so. The form is updated for that. Okay. No doubts related to the code or any concept that I taught today. If you have, just write it in the chat. Great. If you understand everything clearly for today's lecture, it will be great. Yeah. So, everyone remember tomorrow we'll be starting the application implementation. Okay. So we'll be starting with bit and all. So I want you all to be present tomorrow. Like you should not miss the tomorrow session. Okay. Then we'll be closing this live session now. Yeah, hope so you got all the concepts right. Great. Okay. If you have any doubt, just like we can resolve it in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, then have a nice day ahead. Thank you. Bye.